يا راغبا في كل علم نافع.
ينمو العلم ويتقدم بتقنياته ومجالاته، ومعه نطور أدواتنا في تقديم العلم الشرعي. أكاديمية
زاد أكاديمية ينبوعها صاف ليروي غلة الظمآن. وتعلم الفقه الميسر عاملا بالشرع دون تعصب لفلان. بشرى لنا زاد أكاديمية للعلم كالأزهار في البستان.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأصلي وأسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. When people are obliged to fast, they have concessions from Sharia with the grace of Allah. In the sense that when a person is sick or traveling, he may skip fasting the month of Ramadan due to necessity, due to his urgency to skip it. Otherwise, it's going to be harmful for himself. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran, so whoever among you is ill or on a journey during them, these days of Ramadan, then an equal number of days are to be made up. So it is a huge sin, it's a major sin to skip fasting one of the days of Ramadan without a legitimate reason. What happens if I skip it? Scholars have different opinions. And the most authentic opinion is that if a person skips fasting a day of Ramadan without intending to fast it, see, someone at night, tomorrow is a day of Ramadan. At night time, he doesn't eat the pre-dawn meal. He deliberately, premeditating the intention not to fast. And he wakes up, he doesn't fast until the day is over. The most authentic opinion is that this person cannot make up that day. Why? Because he skipped it intentionally. And Ramadan is like prayer. It's like Hajj. It is prescribed at a specific time. If you don't fast it, Ramadan this year is coinciding with March. So if I skip it in March and say, no, I'd like to do it next January, can I do this? Of course not. So they say if you intended not to fast and you did not fast, you cannot make it up. But if a person started to fast a day of Ramadan and in the middle of the day he broke it by one of the acts that nullify his fasting. He ate, he drank, he masturbated, he had sexual intercourse with his wife or the likes. In this case, this individual has to make up for this day. Why? Because he started a form of worship, then he broke it up. Okay, what about if a person skips a day of Ramadan for a legitimate reason, such as being sick or traveling or the likes? Then, alhamdulillah, he has a concession from Islam, from Sharia, to make it up whenever it's convenient for him or her, providing that the following Ramadan is not due. So you have 11 months ahead of you. Pick any day you want and make it up. Of course, the sooner is the better, because you never know what happens. And we see this with our own sisters and daughters when they break days of Ramadan due to their monthly period. So they postpone making them up till the last month, the month of Sha'ban. And then they find this hardship due to many things that may come up and delay their making up. So what about if a person still does not make these days that he missed for a legitimate reason, such as traveling or being sick, and he doesn't make them up until the following Ramadan is due? What are the scenarios here? Well, scholars say that there are two scenarios. Scenario number one, that he skipped it for a legitimate reason, meaning that during these 11 months, he could not make them up. Why? Because illness continued and he was prevented by the doctors to fast. That would jeopardize his recovery or maybe harms his health or may lead him to death until the following Ramadan is due. In this case, this individual has no sin and he's not to be blamed because he did not postpone or delay making the missed days of Ramadan just for the fun of it. Rather, he had a legitimate reason. The second scenario would be if he delayed making up these days without any legitimate reason. He could have made them up, but he was just lazy, postponing it on and on and on until the following Ramadan was due. This individual is sinful for not making these days up, and he has to make these days up. It's a debt that he has to fulfill the following year as soon as possible. However, they have disputed among themselves. Does he have to feed a poor person as expiation for the sin he had committed or not? The most authentic opinion is that he does not have to feed any poor person, simply because this was not mentioned in the Quran nor in the authentic Sunnah. It is true that some of the companions said that he has to do that, but as we all know, this is not an authentic opinion from the Quran or from the Sunnah, and the consensus of the companions was not upon this issue. There was a difference of opinion upon them, and hence we referred back to the Quran and Sunnah, and we don't have any evidence to back it up, so there is no expiation. However, if he feeds a poor person just to be safe, that would be also fine. Now, I missed 8 days, 10 days. Do I have to make them up in sequence? Do I have to follow all of them together in 8 days or 10 days without skipping a day? The answer is no. As mentioned in the earlier verse of the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah, that you can fast them up to your convenience when you do that. And in the ayah, Allah did not say that you have to do it simultaneously or in sequence. What about the issue of delaying it intentionally just before Ramadan enters? Why would I have 11 months to make them up? Why don't I make them as soon as possible? Because, alhamdulillah, Allah made it easy for us. But the evidence that back this up is the hadith of Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, which was reported by Bukhari and Muslim in the Sahih, where she said, I would miss days of Ramadan due to her menses, and I don't make them up except in Sha'ban, because of the Prophet's ﷺ's presence in my life, so maybe he would want me. So I wouldn't make up these days until Sha'ban. When it's really tight and I have only Sha'ban to make them up, then this is the only time I can do them before Ramadan enters. And this shows that delaying it till Sha'ban has a evidence that we have, alhamdulillah, leeway to do that without having any problem. And Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. هذا والله أعلم ونسبة العلم إليه أسلم وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد.
يا راغبا في كل علم نافع
ينمو العلم ويتقدم بتقنياته ومجالاته، ومعه نطور أدواتنا في تقديم العلم الشرعي. أكاديمية
زاد أكاديمية ينبوعها صاف ليروي غلة الظمآن، وتعلم الفقه الميسر عاملا بالشرع دون تعصب لفلان. بشرى لنا زاد أكاديمية للعلم كالأزهار في البستان.